Howdy, Diego. Your
What is up?
Dallas Mavs in the finals.
Yes, sir.
Love to see the Luca jersey out here. How are you feeling? You must be absolutely ecstatic for these finals starting tomorrow.
I'm excited, but I'm also really nervous. I've been telling everyone that's asked me, like, it's quite the chance, but I feel like this is a chance we gotta capitalize on. So I'm really nervous about it.
Yeah, you guys are going to see Diego locked up in his room, just having the game on, just
Yeah.
isolated, and do not enter his room in a bad spot in the high stakes moment. Don't even feed this guy popcorn because he's going to be locked in and
So
dialed in
locked
for these
in.
games right here.
Well, actually, tomorrow we're gonna go watch it at the bar with some friends at like a mug bar.
Diego, I was hyping you up, my guy.
Nah,
No, but that
man.
should be exciting.
I need it to calm the nerves, bro. I'm about to be. I'm still probably gonna be like saying stuff, but not in the same like especially when I'm here at home and watching the TV, I start like yelling at the TV. So I need like the no commentary does kind of suck, but it'll be okay.
Yeah,
I'm I'm ready for it though. Gotta be
that's
so
that's what we
locked.
have this podcast in for. We have our own commentary, so we'll be good. Be
Exactly.
straight,
Yeah.
be straight. So, yeah, lots of exciting topics to talk about here. Kristaps Porzingis facing his old team,
Mhm.
Kyrie Irving facing his old team, like Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. This is their second time in the finals, like
Yeah.
on the same team, like this. Like Derek White, Drew Holiday are tasked with guarding like two of the best offensive isolation players we've seen
Mhm.
in the league. And Luca, how healthy will he be coming off? Like,
Yeah.
is Kristaps going to be completely ready for game one? Lots of interesting storylines. Jason Kidd's first finals as a coach. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like he has flown under the radar as a coach this entire season because we
Mhm.
just keep talking about the trades, the trades. How well Kyrie fits with Luca.
Yeah.
Like, I I don't think Jason Kidd gets enough credit. And that's really surprising because they're in the finals right now. So,
Yeah, man.
um, what is one thing that stands out to you right from the get go?
I think the biggest thing for me is, I mean, obviously Kristaps Porzingis is coming back healthy, but he hasn't played a game of basketball since what? Middle of April, over a month off. Now, off, like he's obviously doing work, but he hasn't played an actual NBA game since mid-April or end of April. So it kind of like begs the question, like, what does that necessarily mean for how he's gonna look? Is he really gonna look like peak of his powers this season, Kristaps Porzingis, or is he gonna look more kind of getting into the rhythm? Now I know, especially for game ones, everyone says it's kind of a feel out game, see how things are gonna go. What is the other team doing, and go from there. So I think it's the best thing for Kristaps. So he doesn't necessarily have to give on. Like obviously, if he can, he would want to give 100%, but it's not necessarily the case. Also, big thing for game one. Mavs are wearing the black city jerseys, undefeated in those jerseys, mind you. So just keeping that in mind. I think that's a big thing. Also, a big thing is who guards Luca. Heard a lot of Jalen Brown guarding Luca, which I think is reasonable. Someone quick, strong, and then that leaves KP to guard someone that like sort of help off someone to stay in the paint, and then Jason Tatum to actually guard the center, which is interesting. He's like everyone knew he was 6'8", and then they're like, oh, he grew to 6'10". So 6'10" guy, he's pretty big. It's not too bad, but it's gonna be interesting seeing how the Mavs are gonna punish that.
I don't think Jason wants to be doing that. Like,
Yeah.
especially if like Jason's not like hitting his shots and hitting those like between the legs step back threes. Like, I'm that's a tough ask because with the Dallas bigs, all they do
Hmm.
is rim run, and
Yep.
he's not if he's not prepared to like actively attack that rim run defensively,
Hmm.
it's going to be a long day for Jason Tatum at that spot. That's
Yeah.
the one thing that worries me. I would rather have him on Derrick Jones or PJ Washington. Um, because the thing is, although Dallas doesn't do this very often, like they could have like corner cut lobs to Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington.
Yeah.
That's in their range of skill sets because they have the length. They're explosive players, Derrick Jones especially. Like,
Hmm.
but Dallas is trying to find the corner three. That's one thing I picked up from watching JJ Redick and
Yeah.
LeBron's podcast. they want the corner three, and the rim runs are just to force the help so you get those kick out threes. They kind of play
Mhm.
like inverse to how you would expect. Like if you go to try and take away the Luca, like
Yeah,
um
drive,
like
paint
drive
up.
into the paint, you have the corner wide open. But the way Dallas does it is they go from like the opposite block lob. That's
Mm,
kind of how they
yeah.
handle those situations, rather than like all the way far out in the corner. So um with that said, I'd rather have Jason Tatum out there because then he doesn't have to expend so much energy defensively.
Mm,
And I actually think Drew Holiday can do a good job on Luca. I really do. And I'm comfortable leaving Derek White on Kyrie. Like this
yeah.
is the one team, Boston, where like their 1 and 2 guards are almost interchangeable, and the amount of switching they do allows them to do that.
Mhm.
So with Holiday, I think of like a slightly less strong version of like Lou Dort, but more
Yeah.
savvy than Lou Dort. And Lou Dort gave Luca a lot of trouble. Like
Mhm.
we covered it on this podcast, like how much trouble he was giving Luca.
Yeah.
That's when you saw Luca lingering around a little bit. So like
Mhm.
I don't think there's any mismatches if you have
No,
Luca
yeah.
and Kyrie getting guarded by Holiday and White.
Mhm.
But that's the storyline that I wanted to talk about because um, yes, the Porzingis factor is going to be important for spacing and shot blocking,
Yeah.
but both Holiday and White earned second team like all defensive
Mhm.
honors this year,
Yeah.
and like the the closeout blocks that Derek White has had, the timely steals that Drew Holiday had,
Mhm.
like this is going to be a strength on strength because if they're not able to stop Luca and Kyrie, that's going to be huge. That is
Mhm.
going to be like Dallas has a live chance to win the finals if Holiday and White can do nothing
Yeah.
on this pair. That's why this matchup is really important to
Mhm. I'd say, like, I thought in my head that Drew Holiday was smaller. Also, hearing on podcasts, they're also saying like in the March 1st matchup, like Luca kind of did body Drew in some occasions, but actually I just looked it up online, but like they're both the same height, Drew Holiday and Lou Dort. Lou Dort has like 15 more pounds on him. Now that's also just like Google search, so it could be wrong, but yeah, I think Drew is a good defender because in the sense like what we've talked about before of Jaden McDaniels versus Lou Dort guarding Luca. Jaden McDaniels couldn't do a thing because he didn't have the strength, right? So I think that's a good thing, but I also think the Celtics aren't obviously going to just have one guy on him like Lou Dort, where it's just like Lou Dort, you just guard him, do whatever you want. You can decide what you want to do. You're just going to guard him. But in this case, I think obviously you have your main assignment, but then they're going to keep rotating it out between like Drew, Jalen, and maybe even Jason Tatum if he needs a chance. Because
me. But
I
I
think,
think one of Holiday's strengths is like he gets over screens really
mhm,
well. Like
yeah,
if you watch him, he will
mhm,
have his hand on like the screener's calf just to make sure he clears that front leg to
yeah,
get around the screen. So like Luca can try and find the mismatch. There is none on the Celtics. Probably
no,
Jason
yeah,
Tatum is probably the one here. But like even if you try to set a screen, Drew Holiday is gonna deny it. Like just like that's why I brought up Blue Dort because you saw Blue Dort do a lot of that.
yeah.
And I remember one of the game winners Luca had. It came off a switch, and
Oh, with
you
Wade
saw
McGuire,
Jaden McDaniel's face like right when he
yeah,
let that go. He's like, "Oh shoot, why
yeah.
did I allow myself to get switched like that?" So like,
Hmm.
I don't think you're gonna run into as many situations like that. And but it's possible Boston switches because that's their defensive tendency.
Yeah.
But like with a guy like Luca, if like Holiday's being effective, I don't think they want to just willingly switch like that. So
No, yeah. I know one thing I saw from like a Mavs, what's it called? Like a Mavs analyst. He's actually, I think he is Slovenian. He was saying how one thing they also did in the March 1st matchup was bring Kristaps Porzingis, whoever was guarding him, I think Derrick Jones in that case, to screen for Luca. So then obviously taking the big out of the paint really helps there. That's an option. But it just depends. I think again they do a similar thing as Oklahoma City where they try to crowd up the paint, either say like get it out of Luca's hands possibly, but they like to switch, so they wouldn't really do that. So I don't know, just a lot of options for this Boston team where I think they can really thrive defensively. Like I don't know if they can clamp up the Mavs, but if any team is suited to do it, that is the number one defense in the league. This is a team very switchable, 1 through 5 or 1 through 4, I'd say. So very interesting there.
Yeah. I think the one thing to pay attention to in this postseason run is like Boston is 9-0 when they have 14 made threes.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that we did highlight with Porzingis is his 3-point shot
Yeah.
making, especially at like um not the corners, but like the deep wing spots for the
Mm-hmm.
three. He has that in this game now. You're going to see a lot more volume with that. White's been capable of hitting 4 or more threes on multiple
Yeah.
occasions. Same with Jason Tatum. Um, there's a
Drew's a
lot to
sniper in the
there's a
corner.
lot to like about the way Boston plays offense now because it's basically 5 out,
Yeah.
and it's once Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown get to their right hand, you're playing 4 on 3 essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you have to commit 2 on the ball
Yeah.
if you're a defensive team going against the Celtics. So the key thing here is if Boston's going to hit their threes, that's gonna force the Mavs to play faster than they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I that's something I'm going to look out for. Is the 3-point shot something that Dallas is going to prioritize to stop? Because they do have defensive pieces and like Jones and Washington, but
Yeah.
like Gafford and Lively, I worry about that with the Porzingis factor. I do worry about because Gafford especially is a great rim
Mm-hmm.
protector, and if he's out there like on the 3-point line trying to survive,
Yeah.
that's that's a tough ask out of him, man. That's a
Mm-hmm.
really tough ask. So like, um, it's it's going to be the Boston 3 pointers in this series that is something to pay attention to as well.
Yeah, I'd say yeah, Lively. Obviously, any 7 footer or big guy, you're worried about being out there in the perimeter. But Lively's actually kind of held his own. I mean, even against Anthony Edwards, I don't know if it was at the end of game two or at the end of one of these games in the last series, he had Anthony Edwards 1-on-1, and Anthony Edwards didn't want to go at him at all. A 7'1" guy guarding a 6'5", 6'6", kind of 22-year-old phenom. I think that kind of speaks to Derek Lively's ability to play outside of the paint, which is really interesting. But yeah, Daniel Gafford might not be the best there, but also uh, the big thing for the Mavs is closing out to those threes. Yeah, you might give up a layup or something like that, but with how three dependent they are, if you can take that away, I think that would be huge. So, like stunt and recover, or at least like we've seen how, especially when Luke is guarding the ball on a switch, they start to like load up kind of the box and elbows, sort of like guy with the ball guarding the ball, and then the next two guys kind of lean up towards the ball as well for help. So that's gonna be a big factor in how they recover from that off passes and whatnot, making sure they run them off the line
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Gotta run Boston off the line, otherwise,
and through multiple
you're gonna put them in
times.
the comfort zone. Yeah, yeah. Just have one guy running around the 3 pointer, just like in an arc
Yeah.
formation, just to make sure you cover every guy.
Mm,
But on the other side of the court, with the Mavs offense,
yeah.
obviously you have Luka and you have Kyrie,
Mm,
individual isolation excellence, and then you got the lob threats that have been so vital to like Luka's
uh,
and Kyrie's assist totals. Like you've seen them throw bunches of lobs here,
yeah.
and at times you see Washington and Jones like excel from the corner three spot.
Hmm.
Um, Dallas averages around 4 to 5. I think it was 4.5 threes in the corner
Yeah.
so far a game in these
Well,
playoffs.
yeah.
And Boston actually allows the fewest amount of corner threes from
Hmm.
that spot at 1.5. So it's gonna be telling if Dallas is gonna be able to get those corner threes or not, because that, in my opinion, outside of a Luka and Kyrie otherworldly performance from behind beyond the arc, which can happen,
Yeah.
like the corner threes are probably gonna be the secondary thing I pay attention to here. Is Dallas able to generate them? Is PJ Washington able to hit them? Because when you see Washington hit them, there's nothing you can do to stop the Mavs
Yeah.
offense. But when he's missing them, it's like, oh, he's not in rhythm at all, and he'll miss in bunches. So it's which PJ Washington we're going to get from the corner three, and then is Boston going to allow them to get to that? So
Mm,
that's something I'm going to look at, because the corner three is the easiest shot in basketball. Not for
yeah.
me. I personally like to see the backboard when I shoot a three, but for everybody else, corner threes are really easy to make.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing of how the Mavs offense has been so deadly is that yeah, the corner three is kind of it's the best shot in basketball, but for the Mavs it might be the shot you as an opposing defense. Like looking at PJ Washington, at Derrick Jones Jr., at Maxi Kleber, at Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum, Josh Green, all these role guys, you'd rather have them shoot a corner three, even if it's the easiest shot in basketball, than have Luca, Kyrie get a mid-range shot in rhythm, get them get two guys on them, lob to Lively or Gafford. So that's why, especially if the Mavs are hitting those shots, then that opens up the paint where the Celtics have to say, oh, we have to actually get out on those, and if we get out on those, that opens up lobs then. So it's just like kind of a trifecta of pick your poison and especially what is working in that sense. Now, obviously, if those threes aren't going down, then then you really have to lean on Luca and Kyrie to make shots to then make the defense honest. And I think it's a big thing of how we beat Oklahoma City, where they like PJ Washington shooting over 50% from three, especially in the corners. That killed them because that's what they were ready to give up. Against really good teams, you're not going to fully stop them. Although, obviously we all want to. You have to give something up. You have to say, I'm fine giving this up as long as this isn't given up. And that's especially Luca dropping like a 25-point quarter. They can't have that. So, and especially at that point, you saw it in game five with the Timberwolves. After 25-point quarter, not even the end of the quarter, they have to start doubling Luca, making sure the ball gets out of his hands. Then you have Lively, Gafford, short roll passing to then you might even still get to that corner, but now it's even more open. So I think that's the biggest thing for them, for the Celtics, to make them shoot corner
I think
three.
if I'm on Boston, I'm like, okay, you get the short roll, fine. Are you gonna make it over Porzingis? Like
Yeah,
that's I will live with that if
me
like
too.
Lively and Gaffer get a short roll. What I won't live with is if they're able to get behind Porzingis. Then
Hmm.
it's like there's no point in having Porzingis like stay low if they're just gonna get behind him no matter what he does. So
Yeah.
if I'm Boston, I'm gonna continue to do what I do best, which is limit the corner threes,
Hmm.
and then I'm gonna let Gafford and Lively try to beat me in other ways besides the lob dunks
Yeah.
and go from there. Because I know what Luca and Kyrie can do.
Hmm.
Like you could pencil them in for 20 a night most nights.
Yeah.
Um, but like the wild card is the rotation players and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
on that note, who's your X factor on the Boston Celtics?
On the Boston Celtics, I mean, it's kind of easy to say Kristaps Porzingis just because he's kind of the missing link here, and we haven't seen him play in a long time. But I also think Drew Holiday because of how his defense, like Derek White, you could also say, but I think Derek White has been slightly more consistent offensively, and his defense is just always there. But Drew Holiday, his defense is always there. He's up to a different intensity, but if he's shooting like an ungodly percentage from the corners. If he can get those offensive touches, if he gets a mismatch and can just post a guy up, that makes it a lot easier. Not only the Celtics, but also your stars. I think a big thing for Dallas is on defense to try and make Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum shoot ISO shots. Then having them, yeah, if they make it fine, they can get a bit hot, and possibly that goes into later on in the game where they can get other people hot. But you kind of bet on the chance that they start missing shots, and if they start missing shots, no one else gets shots, and that helps. So I think it's a big thing. I think it's a big
Yeah.
thing here.
Yeah, Porzingis might be the easy answer here.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna say Derek White because of
Okay.
what you mentioned with the Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum
Yeah.
isolation. Whenever I
That
watch
too.
Derek White, he knows his role extremely well. JJ Redick
Hmm.
calls him the Alfred,
Yeah.
all NBA Alfred. I love that term for him.
Hmm.
But
Certainly.
honestly, this is a guy who should be a starting point guard on some other team. He should
Yeah.
not be playing the role he is on the Celtics because he's like absolutely exceptional. But he plays like a true point guard. If you
Hmm.
watch him swing, he makes sure the ball goes to somebody else on the other side of the court, so the defense has to worry about the entire half court.
Yeah.
And I want a guy like that, like excelling in what he does. And obviously, he's been like a sharpshooter from three this season.
Hmm.
Great at blocking 3 point shots from
Yeah.
behind and not fouling. Derek White brings a lot to the table, rebounding wise, and if he gets a lot of touches for like in the Celtics possession. If he's touching the ball 2 or 3 times,
Hmm.
I know good things are going to happen on that possession.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get the ball at all, I feel like it's going to result in an isolation and a 50-50 chance of going in or not. But like
Hmm.
Derek White, I feel like it's like a 75% shot.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
charging my
I
computer.
no worries. I understand that. I would say I was gonna say, oh yeah, yeah, no, I was gonna talk about more of the defense, but I definitely agree, and I think Boston is just so scary because on the perimeter side, your two guards, like you said, two of the best defensive players, but they kind of fill different roles defensively. I mean, Derek White, like a great shot blocking guard, possibly one of the best in the league, and then you have Drew Holiday, who's like a clamp down on ball defender. And yeah, he can get some blocks too, but they feel like the yin and yang of like clamping someone up on the ball and another guy just getting blocks left and right, even though they're listed at the same height at like 6'4", which doesn't really seem believable. I don't know. They seem different heights. I
They
obviously
just
don't.
have different. They have different athletic space. I think the
Hmm.
wingspan might be different in favor of White,
Yeah,
um, and like the quickness might be. Well, actually, Derek White has some quickness to be able to get to
yeah,
those
but
blocks.
the
But
strength.
I just think like Drew Holiday's more fast twitch in the
Mm-hmm.
aspect of like understanding concepts. I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
Holiday does a better job understanding offensive concepts
Hmm.
and understanding where offensive players are trying to get to. White's more like instinctually good
Hmm.
at defense. There's no like there's no like better preference because
No.
they're both put in the most optimal situation to
Yeah.
showcase those strengths. But that's what I think the clear distinction is between the two. Um, with that said, I think White's also very savvy, where like he won't put himself in positions to like allow like an open run to the lane because he's so good at drawing charges. So
Yeah.
like that's gonna be something I'm gonna monitor if he's able to draw charges on Luca and Kyrie. Because if he's able to do that, I think he could take one of those offensive pieces out.
Hmm.
Because and most probably Luca, because if Luca gets a call like that, like it's a charge call,
Yeah.
that might flip the game, to be honest. Because the way like Luca's not able to contain his emotions on the officials, like those kind of micro moments matter. So
Mm.
that's why I'm looking at it from Derek White too, like as I'm thinking about it more. But
Yeah.
what about on Dallas? Who's the X factor on Dallas?
I think I think Derrick Jones Jr. just because he's more likely to be left open in the corners, and if he can really hit those shots and make the defense really respect his shot, then the way I was seeing him attack closeouts at the end of that Timberwolves series, it was so fluid. He would grab it and then like beautifully move into the drive, and especially if he can get lobs like that. Anytime I see that, I'm just like yelling airplane mode, man, because that's how he's going. He's just a high flyer, and it's amazing. Uh, Derek Lively is definitely on there, but I think next guy up in X Factor would be Daniel Gafford. What Daniel Gafford do we see? Do we see the Daniel Gafford that ended that? Was it game four?
4 blocks,
Yeah, where
ridiculous.
Derek Lively. No, it was game three. Yeah, because we lost game four. Game three, where Derek Lively goes out. I was kind of scared because yeah, Daniel Gafford's great, but he's a bit too aggressive sometimes. Gives up some shots, but in that game, he really did it. He was just right and got the blocks and the dunk on Gobert to end the game. If we can get that Gafford, then you have 48 minutes of really high level center play. And I think that'll be huge because Kristaps is a great uh, paint defender, but I think these twin towers I've heard I've heard on like the Thinking Basketball podcast. Supposedly, Mavs fans, not me, call them the Lob Goblins, which is kind of funny. I don't know why, but I don't know. I think that kind of challenges Porzingis, especially if he's not 100% after his injury.
Yeah.
And
For me,
Horford.
I'm gonna say PJ Washington.
Mm,
Um, which PJ Washington are we gonna get from corner three?
yeah.
Because if he's punishing the Celtics from the corner, or even the wings, like
Mm,
I feel like the Celtics have to adjust their defense to account for him. They might end up saying, okay, we'll lose if PJ Washington goes
yeah.
off. But we saw in Oklahoma City what it looks like when PJ Washington goes off. And plus, he's a really great defender. I don't
Hmm.
think it got talked about enough how great defense he played on the Thunder. Um, and he's an option to throw at Tatum or Brown,
Yeah.
whichever way possible, and just to prevent the drives. Um, so he's a guy I'm looking at and saying if he gets going, It's going to take a lot of pressure off of Kyrie, who you
Mm-hmm.
know is going to be booed endlessly
Yeah.
tomorrow. And then Luca, if Luca's out of it, then he's not playing well like he did in the Thunder series. So
Mm-hmm.
um, to me, I look at Washington, and if he gets the spacing down, it's going to create a lot of opportunities for Gafford, for Lively, for Derrick Jones Jr. on the
Yep.
opposite side. So that's why I pick Washington.
Mm-hmm. And then another guy to look at in this series is Maxi Kleba, having he played a little bit in that game five, I believe game four as well, and having that extra week to get fully rested. He's a big thing where if we really do get spaced out by Kristaps Porzingis, now I'm not saying he's going to guard Kristaps Porzingis like effectively, but he is sort of a space it out, really like three and
He
D,
did a
like
great job on Edwards.
yeah,
Like it wasn't many possessions. I think it was maybe like two or three all series. But like the possessions I was watching, I was like, he's making Edwards work a lot. So like
hmm
that is a great topic. Yeah.
yeah, like and especially if he's not going to get that many minutes, he can play at a really high intensity if we need that like spacing, that 3 and D defense from a center, an able center like a PJ Washington, Maxi Kleba lineup as your bigs could be dangerous if necessary. If Jason Kidd is kind of digging into his bag for what to do next, so very important.
Yeah. I guess maybe one guy from the Celtics side. Not gonna get as many minutes, but I think one who's been steadily getting more minutes is Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
Um, he is a guy that seems to always energize the team in a
Hmm.
unique way whenever he sees the floor. And I think him versus Jaden Hardy and that bench
Yeah.
depth is going to be huge. So like it's only going to be like it's going to depend on how they close quarters, but like he's
Hmm.
a guy that can get 10 points a game
No,
easily,
easily. Yep.
and that goes overlooked because you're like, okay, if we hold Jason to under 20, we hold Brown to under 20, we can win this game. But like, there's so many role players on Boston you have to worry about, and
Mhm.
he's like another one where he's like savvy.
Yep.
He's like Boston's version of T.J. McConnell,
Yep. Yeah, I
except
was gonna
not as
say.
fast twitch. But like, he can get his own shot, and that's something that's rare and hard to come by.
No, definitely. Yeah, he's interesting. I also think Luke Cornett might not get as many minutes, if
I
you're
don't think so either.
especially if you have Horford off the bench. I think Horford, especially on the bench, if he's matched up with Gafford or Lively, could kind not get like bullied, but he's not as athletic, can't jump as high.
He's what, 35 or 36 now?
He's let me look it up. He is 38 years old. Just turned that 2 days ago. He's
Wow.
old, man.
The
So
fact that he's still playing is insane.
yeah,
Like,
like
wow.
that's like the only reason I'd like the Celtics to win is for Al Horford to get a ring. Like an all-time great player who like in sort of
I
that
thought you
Brook
were a Mavs
Lopez.
fan.
I am a Mavs fan, but like you
Okay.
can't say you hate Al Horford. Like
He
I
should
know
have
for a
joined the. He
fact
should have joined the Mavs.
that would have been nice, but oh, going he sort of fits that like Brook Lopez mold of like guy who couldn't really shoot that well. Like he kind of had a mid range on the Hawks, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh, well, I'm like 6'10. I can't really run. How do I make money anymore? Because if I don't learn to shoot, I'm out of the league." And that's what he did. And he's still here in his second finals. So like he didn't get to a finals till he was what
This
like
is his best opportunity
36.
to win one at
Yeah.
this stage of his career. So,
Hmm.
um,
So
I hear you on that. I just think that's gonna be, yeah. If you get Porzingis in foul trouble, that's
yeah.
something you could probably exploit, like just
Hmm.
because of the youth on the Mavs team for
Yeah.
sure. Um, yeah, I think the one thing I want to see is how does Missoula adjust game to game?
Yep.
Because if you're the Celtics, there's no way you climb down 0-3 on the Mavericks and expect what happened to happen, like happened with the Heat to happen again. Like there's a
Yeah.
Mavs team that can close the deal. They have closers,
Hmm.
and I would be trying to focus on closing quarters well, like
Yeah.
between quarter one, two, and three. Because if it's a tight game and it's in the fourth quarter, I know they've handled their business against Indiana. I think Dallas is just a different team than Indiana as far as like how they
Definitely.
close games.
Yeah.
If Dallas has a lead late, they're not blowing it. They are not giving two games away like that. I just think we've seen
Hmm.
enough from the Mavs to expect that, and for the Celtics. But like, if the Celtics find themselves in a situation where they have to come back, or they're only holding on to a 1 point lead, I think Mavericks can steal a game or two on the road.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. So it's going to come down to how the Celtics finish their quarters well. If they don't, I and it's a tight game, Mavs can win. And I'm going to give them like a 70-30 chance to win
Yeah.
because of who they have as closers on their team.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. Yeah, I think especially one thing that really pissed me off in one play against the Thunder was I don't know if we were at home or away, but I think it's the end of the first, end of the second. Uh, I think Giddy throws the ball. So just someone inbounds the ball from one side of the court to the other side to get it to like backcourt to front court to Chet Holmgren. He just turns around, hits a three, and PJ Washington isn't like contesting that shot at the end of the quarter. Like that's a huge thing that gives so much momentum to the other team. Just locking in for that end of the quarter is really important. So obviously, that situation might not happen, but if it does, like we need to be fully locked in. Can't have any like mistakes like that. I think because like you go for 2 for 1 and try that, but always keep in mind that you have to play up to the buzzer, no matter what that means. No matter I missed the shot, man, I missed the shot. Oh man, and not getting back like
Don't
that's
look for foul calls.
that
Just
too.
just don't.
Luca
And
needs
both
to.
sides do this. Like Jason Tatum and
Oh
Luke are
yeah,
ridiculous when they complain for calls. It's so
oh
silly.
yeah. Luca's
I hope
more.
that doesn't happen as often, but
Yeah,
it's going to. So
Luca's more aggressive about it, but Tatum is more like complaining about it. Tatum's
he
just
throws his hands way too much. Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah.
like I
Um,
don't like either, obviously. But I think big thing for Luka is just like what he said. Um, I don't know what game it was against the Timberwolves, but it's just like remembering that this is something he loves. This is something he has fun with. And yeah,
yeah,
like obviously you have the pressure to win a championship, but if you're not, this is one thing. My friend on our team when we were playing for our like league championship, he was like, "This is fun." Like obviously, it's the whole reason we're playing this. Like, we're
yeah,
not playing basketball because like, oh, I gotta go to work, I gotta make this, gotta get paid, whatever. No, we're playing it because it's fun. So
yeah.
just remembering that play. That's why you give 100%. And so I think that's a big thing that the Mavs need to remember. Luca especially, because I mean, all the guys kind of follow him in that sense of emotional leader vibes. So gotta keep that locked in.
All right, last question for you, and then I'll let you go.
All right.
Who wins the series and in how many games?
Jeez, I have to, I have to do it. Mavs in 6 in the old-fashioned way. Lose game 1. Win games 2 and 3. Have to lose game 4 somehow. Win 5 and 6. 6 at home. Get the Larry O'Brien.
Okay, okay. I don't know what you're doing there with losing game 4, but
That's what
yeah,
we did
we'll
in the
see.
first two
I mean,
series.
Celtics are much better on the road than at home for some reason. Like
Yeah.
as far as like where Tatum and Brown in playoff history, but um, I'm gonna say Celtics in 6.
Nah.
It's I want to pay attention, either game 1 or game 2 and see the Mavs win. I think that's gonna tell a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the Celtics got it. I think they just have more advantages
No, yeah.
at shutting down what Dallas can do well,
Hmm.
and more things to think about offensively than what Dallas can maybe handle. I could be wrong on this. They're both great teams,
Yeah.
but I think Tatum and Brown finally break through. They don't have to deal with the Heat. They don't have to deal with
Hmm.
Steph Curry. I
Yeah.
think this I think this will be an easier time and a better roster that they have to be able to beat the Mavs. And I fully said this knowing you're a Mavs fan.
No,
But
obviously.
in all seriousness, it's going to be a great finals, guys.
Hmm.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Follow us on our Instagram page. Diego will point to it correctly in three,
I hope
two,
so.
one.
Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Great timing there. Amon.a.mission. And then on our YouTube, it's 3 words, Amon a mission. Um, we're on a mission to give you the best basketball content we're out there. So please leave your
Lock
comments
in.
on like what we could do better, what you're excited about, who you got as finals winners here, and should be a fun time. I'm excited about tomorrow.
Yeah. Me too, man. Excited and nervous. We'll see how it goes.
I've spoken like a true Mavs fan. Take care, you guys. We'll see you later.
See ya.